Gary Wayne Coleman was an American actor and comedian. Coleman was the highest-paid child actor on television throughout the late 1970s and 1980s. He was rated first on a list of VH1's 100 Greatest Kid Stars. Born February 8, 1968, Zion, Illinois, United States. Died May 28, 2010, age 42 years, Utah Valley Hospital, Provo, Utah, United States. Spouse, Shannon Price M. 2007 to 2008. Height, 1.42 meters. Parents, Wierszod Góry Coleman, Edmo Uniesiu. Gary Coleman net worth $75,000. Early life. Gary Wayne Coleman was born in Zion, Illinois, on February 8, 1968. He was adopted by W. G. Coleman, a forklift operator, and Edmonia Sue, a nurse practitioner. Due to focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, a kidney disease, and the corticosteroids and other medications used to treat it, his growth was limited to 4 feet 8 inches, 142 centimeters, and his face kept a childlike appearance even into adulthood. He underwent 2 unsuccessful kidney transplants in 1973 and again in 1984 and required dialysis. Career. In 1974, Coleman's career began when he appeared in a commercial for Harris Bank. His line, after the announcer said, "You should have a Harris banker," was "You should have a Hubert doll." Hubert was a stuffed lion representing the Harris Bank logo. The same year, he appeared in an episode of Medical Center. In 1977, Coleman appeared in a pilot for a revival of The Little Rascals as Stymie, which ultimately ended up not getting picked up as a series. His work on the Little Rascals pilot caught the attention of an executive, and in 1978 Coleman was cast as Arnold Jackson in Diff'rent Strokes, playing one of 2 black brothers from Harlem adopted by a wealthy white widower in Manhattan. After the premiere, Diff'rent Strokes became a hit and ran for 8 seasons, ending in 1986. Coleman received recognition and praise for his work on Diff'rent Strokes. For his role he received 5 Young Artist Award nominations, of which he won 2, and won the People's Choice Awards for Favorite Young TV Performer 4 years in a row, from 1980 to 1983. At the height of his fame on Diff'rent Strokes, he earned $100,000 per episode, and he became known by his character's catchphrase "Oh what you talkin' 'bout, Willis?", uttered skeptically in response to statements by his brother Willis, who was portrayed by Todd Bridges. According to Bridges' autobiography Killing Willis, Coleman was forced to work long hours on the set of Diff'rent Strokes despite his age and debilitating health problems, which contributed to him feeling depressed and withdrawn from the rest of the cast. A Biography Channel documentary estimated that Coleman was left with a quarter of the original amount of money he received from his years on Diff'rent Strokes after paying his parents, advisors, lawyers, and taxes. In 1989, Coleman sued his adoptive parents and former business advisor for $3.8 million for misappropriating his trust fund and won a $1.28 million judgment in 1993. Coleman had appeared on The Jeffersons as Raymond, George Jefferson's nephew, and on Good Times in 1978 as Penny's friend Gary. Along with his work on Diff'rent Strokes, Coleman began working in films, first appearing in the baseball comedy television film The Kid from Left Field in 1979. In that same year, he made a guest appearance on the science fiction show Buck Rogers in the 25th Century as a time-displaced whiz kid named Hieronymus Fox, a role he would reprise in a later episode in Season 2 of the series, in 1980. In 1981, Coleman made his feature film debut with the comedy On the Right Track, headlining as Lester, a young shoeshine boy who achieves fame for having an uncanny talent for gambling on horses. The film was received with mixed reviews, with critics stating that the film rode nearly entirely on Coleman's credibility and presence. However, the film was a commercial success, and his performance was praised. He next starred in Jimmy the Kid, 1982. The film was financially successful, but received resoundingly negative reviews, with critic Roger Ebert writing, "Movies like this don't really have room for brilliant performances. They're written by formula, cast by computer and directed by the book, and when a little spontaneity creeps in, it seems out of place." Coleman starred in the television film The Kid with the Broken Halo. The film served as the basis for The Gary Coleman Show in 1982, where Coleman had the lead voice role as Andy LeBeau, an angel in training who comes to Earth to help others and gain his wings. Coleman voiced the role of Kevin in the animated show Wayne Head, which ran from 1996 to 1997. He also voiced Kenny Falmouth in the video game The Curse of Monkey Island in 1997, which gained him attention, being one of the first few major mainstream actors to appear in a video game. He had ventured into politics, and in the 2003 California recall election he was a candidate for governor. His campaign was sponsored by the free news weekly East Bay Express as a satirical comment on the recall. After Arnold Schwarzenegger declared his candidacy, Coleman announced that he would vote for Schwarzenegger. Coleman placed 8th in a field of 135 candidates, receiving 14,242 votes. In 2003, Coleman portrayed a fictional version of himself in the video game Postal 2, 2003. The second game in the Postal franchise, it received a cult following its release and brought Coleman much attention. In 2005, Coleman appeared in John Cena's music video for his single Bad, Bad Man, from the album You Can't See Me, and played himself as a villain taking Michael Jackson and Madonna hostage. The video was a spoof of 1980s culture, focusing on the A-Team. Coleman's final television role was a voice role in the animated series Robot Chicken. His final film roles were starring as Charles Higgins in the sports comedy film Church Ball, 2006, appearing as a slave in the satirical comedy film An American Carol, 2008, and appearing as Gary in the comedy film Midgets vs. Mascots, 2009. Personal life. Coleman was an avid railroad fan, and he later worked part-time at Denver area, Tucson area, and California hobby stores to be around his hobby. Coleman built and maintained miniature railroads in his homes in several states throughout the 1990s. Currently, at least one of Coleman's model railroads is being preserved in Colorado Springs, Colorado. In a 1993 television interview, Coleman said he had twice attempted suicide by overdosing on pills. Coleman lived in Santaquin, a small town about 50 miles 80 kilometers south of Salt Lake City, Utah, from 2005 to the remainder of his life. In early 2007, Coleman met Shannon Price, 22, on the set of the film Church Ball, where she was working as an extra. Price and Coleman married several months later. On May 1 and 2, 2008, they made a well-publicized appearance on the show Divorce Court to air their differences in an attempt to save their marriage. However, they divorced in August 2008, and Coleman was granted an ex parte restraining order against Price to prevent her from living in his home when he was hospitalized after their divorce. According to a court petition later filed by Price, she and Coleman continued to live together in a common-law marriage until his death. However, a judge ultimately ruled against Price after hearing testimony that she engaged in love affairs with other men during the time when she claimed to have been with Coleman and physically abused Coleman in public, led him around by the hand like a child, displayed no physical affection toward him in front of anyone.